Yo, what's going on guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a complete 15-win challenge guide. So with the new meta and with all this craziness going on right now, I'll be trying to give you guys the best tips on whatever else. So also the challenge is now 72 hours long. It does come out on a Friday now, which I didn't even realize, so I had to quickly put together this guide for you guys. So yeah, so before getting today's video, make sure you're using the creator code mine will be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's jump straight into it. All right guys, so starting off at map number 1, we have gem grabber double swoosh. So a nice and easy map for this one. If you guys have seen any of the meta, played any ladder right now, or watched any type of my content, you would see how OP Primo is. Primo is crazy OP. There's basically no counters to Primo whatsoever right now, because eventually he's going to be getting his supers. So I'd say the number 1 comp for this map is going to be Poco double tank. So Poco combined with Primo equals wins. So basically Primo, all you need is one super. As long as you don't waste that super and cycle it really well, you're going to wreck literally everyone in the lobby. And as I said, with the Poco heals combined, he's going to be unstoppable. So number 1 comp for me is just going to be El Primo. He's going to run absolutely everywhere. As I said, just make sure you're not completely wasting that super. Make sure you're being kind of careful with it, and you're going to cycle it literally instantly. You're going to, it's like the damage you're going to take as well as the damage you're actually doing it to get that super. It's just going to cycle constantly. You just see in the gameplays that Primo just runs absolutely everywhere. So I'd recommend running this one. I recommend using Rosa as well, because at least Rosa can tank a lot of Primo jumps and also combines really well with Poco. But you can also go with other tanks like Frank, like Jacky, like Bull if you really want to. But Rosa's just probably better, especially as a tank counter to Primo, because she's got that shield, as I said, actually saves her for a little bit of an amount. But yeah, that's going to be the main comp that you want to be using, especially in the first round. It's going to be nice and easy. Let's jump into another comp. All right guys, so jumping into a counter of the last comp. So basically in this meta, you either have to use El Primo or really try and hard counter him. So this one is if you're a little bit scared to use Primo. You've got the Ems and Tara that can be really decent against the Primo, but Primo eventually can basically win every single matchup, especially if you get rid of Ems' Gadget. But these are both going to be really good down the lanes. This was a comp that I used to use anyway on double swoosh, so if you're a bit more familiar with these type of brawlers, you can go ahead. Genius is a bit harder to play, Poke and whatever else, but I don't think you need to really sweat it in the first stage. Let's hop into stage number 2. All right guys, so next up, going into Siege, some assembly required. As you see on the screen, there's no troll in here. Triple tank probably is the best comp to use. As I said, I've really been like discovering the meta for like a day or whatever else, but I just think triple tank is way too good. It was already quite a viable strategy in competitive triple tank because you can defend really well and get a lot of damage as well. So the recommended comp for me, you can use a Bull, Primo, and a Frank. So Frank is going to be absolutely amazing on defense. I think the 2 brawlers that you can't really take out of this comp is the Primo and the Frank, because I said Frank's just going to be really good at dealing damage to the Ike, at stunning the Ike. I'd also use the power grab star power, because most of the time you're going to be facing enemy tanks as well, and it's going to be absolutely amazing, especially if you can stay alive for a long time. You're going to be able to do so much damage to them. You've got Primo, who's basically going to be the best tank counter, and also just counter to every single brawler in the game right now. I feel like you can't take El Primo out of your comp, especially in Siege. He's going to be so good at just collecting bolts constantly. He can just keep jumping around the map, just free-willing his way around. But yeah, that's going to be the best comp for Siege. Again, quite an early round, so for me, you just try and stay alive for as long as possible, because even with tanks, it can be pretty hard to defend a Siege robot if you actually end up dying. Like, some of the tanks don't have the fastest reloads, so you've got to be a little bit careful in that aspect. But yeah, triple tank is definitely going to be the way to go. Okay guys, so quickly going over to the counter to that last comp, or a bit of a counter. You got the Gene, Ems, and Primo, but to be honest, you have to be a really good, or at least a confident Gene, to really counter in this state, because with the tanks, you can keep pulling them into the Ike, and that's probably the best way you're going to be able to counter them. You've got Ems and Gene both for the knockback. Ems is going to be absolutely insane on this meta, so I'll definitely recommend using Ems if you feel a bit more comfortable, rather than using the tanks. If you want a better combination to counter with, you could maybe bring out like a B, a Colette, or something like that. It's probably not going to be the best with the walls, so maybe try and open the walls up with like the Primo jumps or a Frank super. I don't really know, but yeah, I'll say one of these combos are going to be the best. All right guys, so next up we have Hot Zone Split, and again, I just think tanks are way too overpowered. Even if you have like triple counter, I just think with El Primo in the meta, it's just in the long run going to lead to El Primo just basically getting a team wipe with his supers. So I've gone for Poco Frank down the left hand lane and Primo down the right. Basically, Primo's going to be able to win most matchups even without a Poco. And it just sounds crazy talking about this because Primo was the worst brawler in the game, but with his change, he literally is the best. And it's mainly just due to his super. His super is going to be able to win every single matchup. Again, I'll use Power Grab on the Frank because if you get 1 kill with Frank, you make it so I think it's 12 seconds you actually keep that extra damage, and it's a lot of damage. So you can secretly shred with Frank, and especially with the change, you can keep opening the map with the Frank as well. So I'd recommend using this, and even if the enemy has like a B, a Rico, the typical on split, I still don't think they're going to be able to overpower this combination, especially with the Primo. The Primo is just going to absolutely bully the B once you've got super. The same with Rico as well, so I'll definitely recommend using this combination. Okay, so running into another combination, instead of the Poco, I've gone for the triple tank. So this can also work really well because a lot of times Poco can get a little bit too lost, especially with Primo's so meta, because Primo can basically just target the Poco. So I've gone for the Bull instead, but you can also use like a Jacky or a Rosa is a good alternative as well. So triple tank, as I said, just way too strong on this map. If you really wanted to hard counter tanks, I'd probably recommend something like a Colette M's B or like a Rico. One of those 4 brawlers is going to be the only way you're going to be able to counter this combination. And to be honest, I still don't think that can really counter it. So the safe bet really is to just go tank heavy. It's going to be absolute carnage this challenge. It's probably going to be one of the hardest challenges to win, honestly, because it's really hard to dictate the pace of the tank meta. But yeah, you just got to play careful. Well, not really careful. You just got to win your matchups, basically. It's just going to be Primo everywhere. Just make sure you're the better Primo, basically. All right, guys, moving on to set number 4, we have hot potatoes. So with the ammo changes, I feel like the 2 gamers that have been changed the most, especially to favor the tanks a lot more, it's going to be the heist and bounty metas. So I think tanks are absolutely insane on heist. So Berzerker has seen a bit of a comeback, especially as I said, since of the ammo change. He can get a lot of damage with Berzerker, especially because people don't respawn with that ammo. It's going to be really toxic, and he can get a lot of damage on that save. So I recommend using the Daryl, Primo, and Bull. I think the 2 brawlers that you can't really switch out of this are the Bull and Primo. They're just too good. Daryl is just really good in heist in general, one of the better tanks, and even though he didn't really get much change with the update, just tanks in general are just super strong. So I'd recommend using that one. But as I said, you gotta either run triple tank or a counter to them. Okay, so going into the next combo, which I think is pretty OP as well, it's going to be the Colette, M's, and Rico strategies. So I'm using the bounce stopper on the gameplay, but I would honestly recommend the speed, especially if you keep facing Primo. Speed actually is a decent counter because if you get to low HP, you can obviously speed away from the Primo, so I'd recommend probably using the speed star power Rico. But anyways, definitely use the push it star power on Colette as well. Normally, in a normal meta, you're going to be using the shield star power Colette, but mainly to counter tanks. Literally every single tank in the game, except for when one is shielded, you can 2-tap and super them and kill them with Colette. So using push it is just going to be able to confirm those kills a lot more simply, and you're just basically using Colette for defense. You just want to keep cycling those supers over and over again. It's just really toxic. Colette is probably the best counter to Primo, so if you're really angry at all the Primos, because let's face it, Primo is going to be absolutely everywhere in this challenge, so you either need to run it or just hard counter it because it's so strong. So M's also a really good pick because you can get a lot of value with her super. You've also got her Gadget to buy her a little time to get a lot of damage. So yeah, this is a very good counter combo. All right, guys, so moving on to the 5th and final set. Surely you guys have guessed it by now. We've got Primo. Primo everywhere right now. He's going to be absolutely insane on Canal Grande. So if you guys know Canal Grande, it's kind of a spawn trappy map anyways, especially if you get control of the bush. But especially now because of the ammo change, it really has affected the bounty meta. You can't really go throwers with slow reload speed with not a lot of damage. You can't really go to pipers. The brawlers you can generally go on bounty. You just got to go tanks again. You really have to go tanks because if you're facing a combination which doesn't really do a lot of it, well, it doesn't have a fast reload. Basically, once you get that initial kill or just the first few supers, you can literally go into their spawn and it's nothing that they're going to be able to do. It's kind of crazy. So seeing this gameplay, how wild that the Poco double tank meta is, it's crazy. Sometimes it's really hard to know what to do. So again, the main real tip for me is to try and isolate the Poco. You're going to be able to get the free kills on the Poco. So for me as a tank, I'm going to be trying to protect my Poco, and then at the same time, when I've got like a Primo super or a Rosa super or something like that, I'm going to overextend and try and kill that Poco when safely doing so I can get some easy styles on my head. And then also, as I said, trying to stay to the Poco. Poco's mainly honestly the key to this comp because you got a good Poco is going to keep you alive for majority of the time. And if you're just cycling heals over and over again, you're not going to be able to die at all. So yeah, Poco, Primo and Rosa just going to absolutely destroy it. Okay guys, so going on to the final comp. So instead of the Poco, again, I've opted to go for one of the tanks. You can either go for a Bull, a Jacky, or a Frank. So I've picked a Bull here, but Jacky's also a really good alternative. And again, it's just the Poco can be really good at healing, but sometimes he gets isolated a little bit too much. So it's sometimes worth just taking out the Poco and just going straight for the tank. So Bull can be really good, especially with his Gadget, because he can just Gadget onto any of the tanks, probably except for like a Primo, and confirm a kill. Is really good in that aspect. So again, at tanks just gonna be absolutely wild. So again, I didn't really mention it too much on Canal Grande, but all you want to be doing is trying to establish an early lead, and then all of you triple stack down one lane and try and keep that lead for as long as possible. So the enemies are just going to be pushing into you. You're going to be able to get nice and easy value. But yeah, tank heaven at the moment on Bounty. Alright guys, that's going to be the end of today's video. Hope you enjoyed this wild one. It's probably the most wild meta there's been for such a long time, because you can only really use a handful of brawlers. You've either got to go the hardcore tank counters, or you got to go tanks yourself out. So you kind of pretty much screwed it in this meta. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed this one. Also, on my stream tomorrow, I will be carrying you guys to 15 wins, so make sure to check that out. Also, description as well, I'll be putting all the best star powers and their gadgets for each map and mode. So yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.